Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Mr. Blue podcast. I am your host, Blu-rayDave. This episode of the podcast has been a long time coming ever since I announced it, last summer or fall? Either way. I've lost the file to the original episode of the podcast. I was trying to, edit it and all that, kind of, fix / touch some stuff up, but, you know what? I'm just gonna do it again, but kind of just make this simpler for you guys, a simple episode, and not gonna add multiple pictures like I've said, like I wanted to, talk about the different characters and all that. No, I'm just gonna make it again simple. Obviously, I'm not gonna go through every episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, right? Because that'd be difficult to talk about, and plus I haven't watched the show in a year now, so it's pretty crazy to think about. But I do want to say this though, guys. The one YouTube short that is still popular to this day on my channel, it's still number one. And again, I want to thank you guys for acknowledging it. It's Is Ghost Rider a Sorcerer Supreme? So of course it's still on the channel now as of the recording of this video, right? So again, thank you guys for participating and commenting on that video. Every once in a while now I'll get one or two comments talking about that episode. So yeah, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was an experimental show for ABC and Marvel, right? Even though it was run by Marvel Entertainment, not Marvel Studios, it was the show was created by Avengers director Joss Whedon, which I thought he did a pretty good job with the series. The series is a pretty divisive show for good and bad reasons, right? It does have its moments. The first season to me is especially nostalgic because of I've watched most episodes on TV, right? It was a bummer though, the official US releases of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended with 2, and then we pretty much just got seasons 3, 4, 5 in the UK, and we don't have a season 6 and 7 from the UK. So United Kingdom, if you're watching this, please get to that. But who knows if Bob Iger will release a complete box set of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Yeah, it's funny though, guys. Even though the show is TV-14, there's a lot of graphic scenes that happens a lot in this show, more than the Marvel Netflix shows, because, well, no, those shows are mature audiences, right? But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., out of all the Marvel shows back in the day, was more graphic than those shows. I still prefer Agent Carter over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? I did love her, small appearances in the show whenever they show, flashbacks of her, post World War II, right? So why don't we talk about the main star of the show, Agent Phil Coulson, Clark Gregg, he is literally the highlight of the show. He's the heart of the show. He's just everything about the show, right? And just like Tom Hiddleston said, he was the glue of the Marvel Universe, Phase 1, right? And, of course, it was a big deal for Clark Gregg to come back in Captain Marvel, right? And, of course, in Marvel's What If. I mean, anything he did was just so cool or hilarious. I still want to get the Lego set that they came out with 7 years ago. My gosh. His car in the show, Lola, man, such a good show. What else? Talk about, was it Sky Johnson, right? And then later on we found out her actual biological name was Daisy, right, in season 2. Her character was so cool, but I honestly was hoping that she would make a comeback in Secret Invasion, after she was having some social media beef with one other guy, oh man, she sounded legit. Like she made it sound like she was coming to Secret Invasion, right? But like, man, and the fact that she's an Inhuman is pretty cool. Like her code name is Quake. Man, see Fitzsimmons, right? Like the two characters, like man, they are such a good couple in the show. Like, anytime they were on screen together before things got like real with them, I'm pretty sure most of us in the S.H.I.E.L.D community are like, come on, kiss, you guys, do something. And then they eventually did that in the later seasons, right? Like, they got married in season 5, I believe. Like, wow. Yeah, they were pretty much like the typical like geeky squad kids, you know, but like they were cool though, right? And of course, I would definitely want them to make a comeback in the MCU, right? Unfortunately, though, in season 2, I can understand why with Fitz in the season finale of Shield. It's been a year since I watched the show. I do want to get back to it again at some point. Who pulled them out? Because didn't they have like one life suit? Like Fitz was willing to sacrifice his life. Like a Fury rescued them both, so he lost like what was it, like brain? Forgive me if I say this wrong. Like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get it wrong, but just forgive me. Like brain circulation or whatever. Like losing oxygen from like to the brain, right? Like and season 2. Oh man, I felt so bad for him. Like he kept hallucinating that like Simmons, his partner, like was there with him. Like, he was having conversations with himself, and like he was he he was stupid, but on accident, right, guys? Because he's trying to remember a lot of things, but like he's stuttering. But like again, I just felt so bad for him. Like, of course, I never called him out. Like, I never called him like, "Hey, stupid!" Like, what about this? Like, no. Like, season 3 was when he was starting to get back into like his groove, right? Like, man. Yeah, those two are they're just so funny, so cool. Like I would definitely want to be friends with them for sure. Like seriously, I love the connections with Winter Soldier, especially. I was there the day that wasn't it the week when Winter Soldier came out? Like I saw the one Shield episode. Unfortunately, they don't have it like on ABC or like Disney Plus or anything like that. But I remembered watching the episode and they had like some of the Winter Soldier clips. And at the end, right, like, at the end of the episode, they show Fury running away. He's like, "Get me off the grid." And I thought that was so cool because, like, yes, the show matters. Of course they acknowledge the movies. Like, that's the thing. The show always acknowledged the movies, but the movies never acknowledged the show. Well, that's the thing because they're agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, they're spies. They're supposed to be working in secret, right? Like, that part I can understand. Like, sure, there was a few cameos from the movies that made it in there, like at least that's one highlight for sure. If we were to get any of like the main actors in there, it would cost them a lot more like to be in there, right? Like, let's be real. Grant Ward, as much of a prick that he was, like when he, like, I guess came out as a villain, right? Like, he was still pretty cool. Like him starting out as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, he was pretty much a double agent, like because he was secretly Hydra. But then I think it's season 2, like he started working on his own, right? Like, yeah, everything he did was just so cool. But I think they killed him off in season 3. Yeah, honestly, I would just want to bring him back, right? Like, just bring back Grant Ward from the dead, right? I want to get back to like Phil Coulson here again for a little bit. I believe it's season 6. No, season 7, right? Season 7's when they introduce like an android version of him, so he can't really die. That'll be interesting to like have Android Coulson come into the movies, right? Like, it was pretty sad though that the real Coulson, he died. It was at the end of season 5, right? But like, it was off screen. It was an off screen death because what, he had some sort of sickness or cancer. Like, geez, dude, that is rough. And I believe it was either at the end of season 2, right? Like, he got infected with something, but then somebody cut his arm off, and then he got a cybernetic arm, and he had a really cool, like, holographic, like, Captain America shield, right? Like, yeah, I liked in season 2 of S.H.I.E.L.D, like, how they introduced the Inhumans, and, like, later on, a couple years later, we would get Marvel's Inhumans, which was an episode of the podcast I did talk about, so if you want to talk about, sorry guys, if you want to listen to me talk about it, go ahead. I have a lot of high praise for that show, honestly. Like, geez, I watched every episode back to back last fall, like on Disney Plus. Like, yeah. Agent May. Oh my gosh, how can you not love her, guys? Like, geez, every time she was on screen, like, so much high praise for her. There was even episodes in season 2, I still can't believe I remember to this day. Like, again, I watched this on TV, was when she fought, like, not necessarily a clone, but, like, somebody that used, like, the face tech from Winter Soldier. Like, you could look and sound like anybody. Like, that was, pretty cool. I don't know, I guess I'm just talking about the main cast here, right? Like, sure, there were some other characters who became the main cast later on. They were, like, pretty good. Like, you got Mac, what was it, Mockingbird or whatever. Like, if I don't name off everybody else, just know, like, they were pretty cool. Of course, there were a couple other of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that I didn't really like, for sure. There was, like, this Piper character, and there was this one guy we saw at the beginning of season 2, where his life was pretty much messed up, but, like, I just have no sympathy for that character, you know? And then he gets called back for, like, a team-up episode or whatever. When this show came out, right, I was thinking, like, how long are they going to keep this show around? Because, like, some TV shows have, like, a limited run, unless if it's that good, right? Or how about, like, this? No matter if it's good or bad, like, it needs to be out longer to support other stories, right? Like, it's kind of like, well, it was between the movies, right? Like, I always compare it to, like, the Clone Wars, even though the Clone Wars was, like, literally between episodes 2 and 3. Like, they're not, like, in between the movies. Like let's say, like, they were between, like, 1, 2, and 3, and the Clone Wars were happening, but the Republic didn't know about that type of thing. That probably didn't make any sense, but, like, you guys know where I'm going with that. Like, again, with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like, they're spies, right? What they do is secret, right? Season 4, I definitely like the first half, like with Ghost Rider. Like, I thought that was so cool. Everything else just, oh man. I did not like the Agents of Hydra, aka the What If episodes in there, because it was so depressing. It was really depressing. I did not like seeing, like, the different personalities. Like, I did not like seeing evil Fitz, right? Like, that was just so messed up. I believe there was one episode in season 6, I believe, where both Fitzsimmons, like, they were, what would you call, like, it's not necessarily homeostasis, right? Like, where, like, they're both, like, kind of, like, they're sleeping, but they're sharing, like, I guess one conscious, right? And they have to both face their fears and their alter egos, and, like, the ending was just so funny, right? Like, man. of course, I did not like Dove Cameron being in the show, like when she was in season 5, like the second half, like, yeah. Um, to me, this show is still canon because we are in the multiverse saga, like, guys, because, um, the show is still canon, but, like, the last 2 seasons, they're, like, in another Earth somehow, right? Like, I think I think off camera after season 5, this is just my theory, like maybe they went to another Earth after the snap, right? How would that be possible, right? Like, of course, like, there's another, there's an evil Coulson that comes into the picture in season 6, which, by the way, season 6 and 7, they took, like, the Netflix route, like, 13 episodes, which I thought was pretty interesting. Um, I don't know, something about the first half of season 5 I just did not like. Sure, it was cool that they were in space. Well, um maybe that did confirm that they were part of like the multiverse or whatever, but like, yeah. Um I was just thinking the whole time, like, man, is this whole season gonna be dedicated to like space the whole time? Because that would be depressing. Like the second half I could tolerate, but like, yeah. With the Kree up there, like taking prisoners, like after the snap, like or whatever, like that was just a big no no. um, yeah, it was pretty cool that Sam Jackson got to make a couple appearances in the show, right? Like, cause it makes sense because he's the director of Shield. Um, I love in season 7 where the our team they accidentally travel through time, like they go into what, the 20s or 30s, maybe even further than that. I don't know. It was just so cool. I loved how in the 50s, right? Like they they basically free slash rescue an agent from Agent Carter, which I thought he was so cool in that show too. I don't remember his name. I apologize. Where apparently his death, infects Shield like in a good way, like the way his sacrifice was, and just like the fact like they I don't know if they necessarily took him or he went in their spaceship like willingly or like or he was curious, like the fact that they saved him, like, oh yeah, bring him back for more future Marvel projects, like, man, like he is just such a cool guy, right? um Again, the timeline is very off with this show um because we all know in the movies, right, the timeline is very 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 complicated, and like with TV shows, um they're always like up to date with the current, um like current world, right? Like, you guys know what I'm saying, like current tech, current styles, current whatever, current trends, like, um maybe that's why they had to go like to another Earth, like unknowingly, because maybe Marvel and Disney did not want to like confuse us, the fans, with the timelines with both the movies and the show, right? And honestly, Agents of Shield season 7 was like the last piece of media in 2020 for now, because like even though it was TV, like, man, it had such a good run. Like, even Disney does not want to work with Joss Whedon anymore. Like, honestly, good. Like, after Age of Ultron, like, and after what he did to Justice League in 2017, like, yeah, just, I mean, I would want to continue the show on Disney Plus, just don't have him involved. Um, I felt well, there was some stuff that were sneaking its way into the show because it's a typical like ABC show. Like, what do you expect? But like, at least they didn't push the bar or the boundaries that high, right? Like, um, would I say this is a 10 out of 10 show? No. I mean, I wouldn't judge somebody or disagree with somebody like if they said was 10 out of 10 for them, like if they prefer and like it that way, like really much, like, you know what, you do you, like I respect your decision, right? Like again, however you feel about the show, like it's 50-50, like it's pretty divisive, and again, rightfully so, like you know, your opinions are valid, of course, with Shield, right? Like because again, Shield is one of those experimental shows where, like, again, because of the success of the Avengers, like, Shield came along and eventually launched other Marvel TV shows, right? Like, again, we got Agent Carter, we got the Marvel Netflix shows, we got Inhumans, got Cloak and Dagger. Eventually, like, like on Star Wars, like especially in Star Wars TV shows and Disney Plus, like you see a lot of like Marvel TV stars, right? Like again, without Agents of Shield, we probably wouldn't have like other shows today, like even Star Wars, right? Like again, Shield launched a lot of things, right? Like um what else I was gonna say regarding like I mean, you could take the show for what it is, right, guys? Like you love it, you hate it, like I don't know, I'm just totally speechless. Like I'm looking at my Marvel collection, just thinking like how far we've come with Marvel TV, right? Like, yeah, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Um, and I guess essentially, like, we wouldn't have like the Marvel Studios Disney Plus shows, right? That's what I believe. Like, sure, maybe if we didn't get Shield or Carter or like any other show, like, I'm sure Disney and Marvel would still make the Disney Plus shows. Um, I don't know. Kind of find it hard to believe, but like you guys can tell me in the comments below, like what do you think about that statement? Because like again, it's either or. Like um, I'm just happy I've watched the entirety of the whole show because honestly, like of course I was more focused on the movies, right? Like even though I did acknowledge Shield's existence, right? Like the show. Um, and also I guess it made it impossible to watch it when I was still living with my folks, right? Because on TV they try to make it an hour, but let's face it, they're like 44 minutes, right? So, um, and it was kind of impossible to still watch in my place because with work, like depending on the days, like it was make it impossible to like trying to finish a season, right? But at the same time, I did enjoy the show, so I didn't want to finish it that quickly, right? Um, Again, it was a shame that Disney had to end off the Blu-ray ties with the show, like with season two making an Amazon exclusive, only because the Blu-ray and DVD sales for Shield this first season were not good in 2014. Believe me, I wanted to get the show when it came out on Blu-ray, right? Um, of course, no, I do, but it's just it represents kind of like a bygone era with the show, right? Like, and of course, I understand it doesn't click with people. Like, again, this is a 50-50 show. Like, um, I was on the same boat with everybody. Like, I expected the Avengers to pop in, right? Like, even back in the day, me and my old church friends, we used to talk about the show, like how it could have brought on bigger appearances, right? But again, like depending on the budget, like um, honestly, I think the people who worked on Marvel Television back in the day, and with Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, I think they should have like settled their differences and worked together, and then the budgets could have been bigger. And like, we could have had Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, um, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, you name it. Like, again, like any other like big Marvel movie stars, they could have made like an appearance in there. Oh, of course, obviously we couldn't have Tom Holland in the show, even if Marvel Entertainment wanted to, because Sony. But Spider-Man does try to sneak his way into like some other Marvel media, right? Like Jessica Jones, for example. Like, yeah. But what are you gonna do, right? Um, what can we take away from the show? I mean, like I said, take this show as it is, guys. Right? Like, either you love it, you hate it. You have some third opinion. Um, Again, I feel like if there's like really hardcore, like die-hard Shield fans, and if anybody said anything bad about it, they would say, "Shut up! You know what you're talking about. It's like one of the greatest shows in history." Like, I mean, I'm one of those people that's like, I don't know about that one, right? Even though, like I said, I am nostalgic when it comes to the first season, right? Because again, that was when I've watched most of the episodes on TV, right? And again, I love those Winter Soldier connections, right? Like, really good stuff. And of course, I wanted a couple of Shield agents pop up in the movies, right? Like, um, even Coulson come back. That was the thing. Like, that was a bit. I I can't I can't end the episode off by talking about this. Of course, it was a huge deal about Coulson coming back from the dead after his death in Avengers, because I loved in season one there was one episode where they show like the backstory of like how he came back. And remember how I said earlier this show is the most graphic out of any other Marvel show, and it's TV-14 by the way. Oh man, the fact like they they opened his head, they showed his brain, they were giving like electricity or whatever. He woke up during like I guess mid surgery, and he begged and pleaded to just die, right? Again, Coulson and his moments, like they were so good, and that's why I enjoyed putting up like YouTube shorts of like funny or best moments of Agents of Shield on there. I still have a playlist up, so if you want to go check that out, please go watch it. um, yeah, I mean when me and my family saw the trailers for the first season, we were all like, "How is Coulson alive? Like, didn't he die in the Avengers?" Like, um, yeah, Coulson should have made a comeback in the modern day MCU, right? Like, um, again, it was nice to have him in Captain Marvel when that film took place in the '90s, right? Like, I felt like that's something like with hardcore MCU fans, like that's a big deal to them. Like, that's the only good thing. Like, again, like, um, what is it called? Like, I was about to say beggars can't be choosers. Like, that doesn't make any sense. What? um, I guess to each his own, right? Um, but I could definitely see Clark Gray coming back in the MCU. Besides, what if for now? Because with Secret Wars, like how they're gonna bring everybody back. I know they're gonna bring back the Agents of Shield, and they're probably gonna end them off. I have no doubt that Deadpool is gonna make fun of the show, right? Like maybe you could say something like, oh, "You guys are great, but your show sucked." Like, oh man, even like in Endgame when Strange and Wong were having that little interaction, like, is that everyone like what you wanted more? Like, yeah, we needed like the Netflix Avengers and the Agents of Shield, like Cloak and Dagger, like anybody else you could think of, right? Like, um, yeah, like I said, the cast was great. There were some stories that were pretty good. I still think like I'm still with a lot of people. I think this show could have done better, right? Like, um, again, if they were to revive the show on Disney Plus, I think they could bring in the big time actors, but like, don't overcrowd it as much because that's something like us as fans are afraid of. Like, um, Because I think I would want it to be like the Netflix shows too, specifically Daredevil. Because we don't know that Born Again is going to have some big MCU cameos, but like, just don't overcrowd it too much, otherwise it'll become repetitive, right? And we we can't have that, right? Um, Again, there's so much I could say about the show. Like, again, a lot of the great moments, like, but that would take a long time, and like even the original I did not want to talk about like every episode. There's again some of the highlights and the characters, like um I could definitely see Quake coming back for sure. Like just give it time, right? Of course I want Melinda May to come back, right? Like she is the cavalry, guys. Like, man, if you've watched her backstory episode in like the later seasons, whatever they show it, whatever season they show it, like, man, you will definitely understand why she is the way she is. Like, oh man, like, can we agree, like, both her and Coulson, they should have developed um like a relationship, right? Like, sure, they had like a brother and sister relationship, but like I wanted them to have like a relationship. Like, they kissed, right? They kissed in um season 5, right? Before Coulson died. Um I know for a fact, I still remember to this day, like evil Coulson stabbed her. Um yeah, that was not cool. Um can we all agree that the Groundhog Day episode was just so annoying? That's why it only works in Groundhog Day, because if you put it in other media, like, it becomes super repetitive. Like the fact, like, the like, this was in season 7, right? Like the Shield, like, they were in space, but they're going through like some sort of like time portal, and this making them repeat the same thing. And only Quake herself can remember like the events. I mean, you think with Coulson as an android, you think he should know that too. I don't know. You guys can debate that in the comments. I don't think Disney wants to bring back TV Ghost Rider again. Who knows? Maybe they could. There's different Ghost Riders from the comics, but I definitely want Johnny Blaze to come back. You know, specifically Nicolas Cage, because he's definitely the better Ghost Rider. And I'm happy I watched those movies first before I got into like season 4, right? Like, but I could definitely see those two like interacting in Secret Wars. Actually, that's something they could do, because if you watch the Ghost Rider movie, like the first one, like um, anybody who has the powers of the Ghost Rider, like, there can only be what, 2 on the same Earth, right? But they can work together, and like one passes away, something like that, and then one continues having the powers, right? Like, um, who knows? Maybe Nicolas Cage can retire his character like that and still be Spider-Man Noir. But that'd be pretty funny though. Like, Spider-Man Noir meets Johnny Blaze. Like, oh man, it's one of the crossovers of a lifetime. I can't wait. Anyways, I'm gonna end off the episode here, guys. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. Like I said, there's so much stuff I could talk about, but like, considering the fact that I have not watched the show in a year now, and thank God, like I said, I've watched the entire series. It's just, there's probably a few things I'm not gonna remember. Like, I'm happy that they show like the backstory of like Jasper Sitwell. Like, he was, a part of Hydra, right? He started out as a kid, right, and then we all know his first movie appearance, right? The first Thor, and then he came in Avengers, and he died in Winter Soldier. There's a possibility that he can come back as a zombie in Marvel Zombies, so that better happen. Make it happen, Disney. As much as I hate him, like, he needs to come back as a zombie. Alright, guys, that was my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please on the post notification, share my content if you haven't already. And I'm sorry it took this long. Anytime a new episode of the podcast came out, I had to keep apologizing to you guys, and like, it's coming. I just like, I gotta get a few finishing touches, and the fact that I lost the original file, I couldn't find it. Just like, you know what? To frick with it, I'll record a new one, and then it'll be off my conscience now, right? Like, probably didn't say that right. Either way, again, thank you so much for watching, guys, or listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for bye. May the Lord be with you guys. What's up, guys? Peace out, guys. And remember, Avengers Assemble. All right, you guys have a good night. Bye, guys.